All right, we're live. It's me, Shallow360, and this is Boys Love Chat number 2. The reason why it's number 2 is because I told you guys about the rabbit hole I have recently fallen into when it comes to boys love television series, dramas, the like. Let me tell you something. It has gotten worse. It is really, really bad. So I thought I'd do a live stream to see if anybody else has got the fever. Because, babe, I got the fever. It's rough. It is JYP plastic pants rough. I am so lost. I completely stopped reading fanfics for the last 2 weeks. Usually when I come home at night, I check my Twitter, check my YouTube, read a couple fan fictions, have fun. As long as, as well as doing dinner, chores, stuff like that. I have not read a fan fiction in 2 weeks because I've been so busy with these boys' loves. It is a sickness. It is a problem. Hey, baby. And I need help. What happened to your shirt?
This?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Okay, it looks like it got wet. Anyway, so I'm on here to see if anyone else has got this problem, if there's series you want to chat about, if you want to ask me what I've seen so far. I'm willing to answer questions. I'm also willing to answer questions about other stuff too. We don't just have to talk about boys love. Honestly, this is a Q&A session for us. So whatever you guys want to chat about in the chat box, we'll be chatting about. Unless you're like a troll, in which case I'm going to ignore you. But yeah.
I have a story about that today.
About what?
There was a troll in my class when we were playing a game.
I hate when people bring trolling into real life. That's such a bother.
Because we have to choose names for Kahoot.
Mm-hmm.
And someone chose the Nick.
Oh. Did the teacher say anything?
The teacher saw it, but she didn't get it.
People are so dumb.
I know. But I think that person logged out like a minute after. But it's still like gross.
Still pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let me tell you guys about what I'm doing so far when it comes to... Hey, Anthony. Like I said earlier, Anthony, in case you missed it, anything you want to ask me about, anything you want to talk about is fine, but I would like to talk about boys love tonight if at all possible because I am totally down the wormhole. Like I'm in it really, really bad. So, hey. So I started with the drama Love by Chance because everybody talked about it, so I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it. Then after Love by Chance, I watched so many more. I watched the first part of Lovesick. I've watched Sodas S, their episode of Our Sky. I've watched Make It Right. I've watched He's Coming to Me. I have watched Tharn Type. I have watched Until We Meet Again, Dark Blue Kiss. What else am I watching that's currently airing? I'm currently watching Hotel Stars, which is terrible. I have watched Bad Romance, Together with Me. I'm looking for a good link for I'm looking for a link to Together with Me, the next chapter, so I can watch it. What else have I watched? Oh my gosh, I've watched every single History series, which is from Taiwan. So I've watched History, My Hero, Obsessed, Crossing the Line, Don't Touch Me or Leave Me Alone, Trapped, and I'm currently watching Making Our Days Count. I haven't watched many movies. I watch it online. I don't know if you, Janini, I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but there is an official Line account where you can watch Tharn Type. And so every Monday, if you follow the Tharn Type series Twitter page, they'll give you the link to watch it officially so that the views count, because they actually do not have an official YouTube channel for Tharn Type. But I'm watching so much stuff. Like, it is... I watched one season of Gay OK Bangkok. That's the name of the show.
I'm sorry, but Gay OK Bangkok.
I don't know, it sounds like a double entendre, but I'm telling you it's the name of the show. I'm trying to think what else I've watched. I've watched so many things. I watched the movie Waterboy. I haven't watched the Waterboy series yet. I've watched so much stuff, you guys. And I'm watching more and more all the time. It's really getting bad. So that's why I want to talk about it here, especially if anybody is watching the stuff I'm currently watching. So shows that are currently airing that I'm watching are Until We Meet Again, Tharn Type, and Dark Blue Kiss, and Hotel Star. So those 4 are currently airing. Oh, and Making Our Days Count. History 3, Making Our Days Count. Those 5 shows I'm watching currently. I know. I'm in a bad way, Stephanie. And I'm watching them.
I only watch like 2 shows right now.
And I'm watching them all on legal channels. So History 3, I'm watching on Viki. I'm watching Tharn Type through the line links that are on the Tharn Type Twitter page. I'm watching Until We Meet Again, Dark Blue Kiss, and Hotel Stars on YouTube. I was going to try to watch I'm Your King Season 2 on YouTube, but they've been really slow about uploading things, so it's been very difficult to get a hold of stuff. So there are some which are Chinese boys love biased, if you know, such as Guardian, Side Crime Investigation. If you watch the drama, the novel is even more amazing, and the Chinese won't portray it all. Okay, I know I've cut out everything else in my life. I've quit reading fan fiction. I'm hardly ever watching anything on YouTube but boys love, and I watch it in 1.5 speed so I can power through them bitches like this. I watched a Chinese boys love called Addicted. Not my favorite series ever, but the leads were really, really nice to watch, particularly the lead that played the Semi, because he kind of looked like Tekken from 2PM, so I was very, very impressed. But the romance was violent. It was like, I'm just going to jump on you and make you take these kisses. And I don't know, that's not my favorite thing in the world. Oh, I forgot I watched Theory of Love. Theory of Love. So good. Official links on YouTube. Watch the whole thing. It's wonderful. It is perfect. I love it so, so much. But yeah, my life. What has my life become? I feel like I only told you guys about me watching Boys Love 3 weeks ago, and now here we are. Okay, so these 2 are based off Boys Love. You can see the intensity, but the Boys Love part is shown more in the novel. And TGW. Oh, Together. Wait, TGW story is amazing. Okay. I have noticed, though, and the story is amazing. I have noticed with the Chinese boys love, they don't get really graphic with the intimacy scenes, which is fine with me. A lot of times, the best part of a series can be that long hug after an emotional revelation. So it doesn't have to be hot and heavy, but I'm not opposed to hot and heavy. So if you guys are looking for certain types of boys love, like I said, I've been down the wormhole. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. But if you have a favorite trope that I may have come across, let me know in the chat, and I will tell you what series I think might match your trope. Because, yeah, good times. Speaking of China and their kind of boys love homophobia thing, I heard that, I think it's called The Untamed, is this Chinese series that's like super duper popular within boys love circles, and apparently it is a boys love novel, but when it was translated to television, they turned it into a bromance. So I kind of want to watch it, but at the same time, I don't like it when you watch media that was meant to be gay themed or was meant to have gay characters, and instead they turn them into like the closest of friends. Like, come on, just be what you are. We know what it is. The source material tells us what it is. Just be what you are. Why hide? Why hide? So, I'm watching boys love stuff. I'm also listening to Hoodie's new album, Departure, in my car constantly.
Who's Hoodie?
Hoodie is an artist on AOMG. She used to be the only girl artist on AOMG, but they recently signed Sogum.
Oh, right, Hoodie.
Mm-hmm. Like Sailor Moon. Hot. True! American Sailor Moon does not talk about the lesbians. Instead, they're close cousins, I think is what they're casted at. And then
there are lesbians in Sailor Moon?
Yes, there are. Look it up, baby. My daughter's got her laptop in her lap.
I'm taking a BuzzFeed quiz.
Boo! Chinese law against it, that's why. But Addicted is amazing. Boys love China drama. Due to Chinese laws, the actors are forbidden to meet in real life due to the drama. That is so fucking crazy. How do you not meet in real life? Like, some of the people in some of these boys love dramas are like very popular. Like the two guys from Addicted are wildly popular. So they probably go to the same award shows and do variety together and all kinds of stuff. How do you not meet in real life? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's so dumb. Unless you're like, let's cast two people that hate each other, make them kiss all day long, and we know they'll never run into each other because they hate each other so much. So dumb. But yeah, it was weird. The Chinese boys' love is like that. But I will say, because the Chinese boys' love isn't allowed to be as physical as Taiwan or Thailand, they tend to do a lot more story-wise. And that was one of the things I really liked about Addicted, is that there was so much more going on besides the romance between these two characters. One of the characters had a hepatitis scare. The reason why they even were so close, well, not so close, but one of the big storylines is that the one character's dad married the other character's mom, and there was some abandonment issues about the mom leaving the boy when he was a young child. The father trying to make a good living and not wanting to marry again because he doesn't want to take away from his son. School, and you know how achievement is such a big thing in China. Also, I did not realize in China that you can go to the military and then come back and finish high school. I had no idea. So it's really interesting, the stuff that goes on in some of these shows. But all told, definitely in China and in Taiwan, it feels like the storyline is much more important plot-wise than it is in Thailand. In Thailand, it seems like it's all about hot young boys, half naked, rubbing each other. Like, there was one show, or I guess it was a movie, that I was going to watch, and a scene happened in the movie that shocked me so bad that I had to turn it off.
Uh-huh.
It was, I'm serious, it was like called Sweet Soul or something like that. I'm not sure what it was called, but it had a character from the show, what is the name of the show? It was a Thai movie. It was a Thai movie, and the character was from, He's Coming to Me. So there's a character in the show He's Coming to Me, which is in love with a girl, but she only sees him as a friend, but they end up getting together at the end. Anyway, spoiler alert.
Love, y'all.
But anyway, that character who plays a straight character in He's Coming to Me plays a not straight character in this movie that I watched. At the time that the movie was filmed, he probably was maybe, I would say, 16 or 17 years old. Like, he was a young guy. And there's a scene where these two characters are in a locker room rubbing each other's genitals on top of their Speedo swimsuits.
Oh, you told me about that.
Yeah, and I had to turn it off. I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is too far for me. I think if it was two grown men, like if it was some men in their early 20s, even then it would be a little bit awkward, but I could handle it, especially if they were built like men, like broad shoulders, big muscles, that kind of thing. So they give off the air of maturity, but these are scrawny boys. Like, these are chicken chest boys, no abs, just no fat. They're super duper skinny. And to see them rubbing each other's crotch, not kissing, mind you. The kissing is the part where it crosses the line for children performers. But rubbing each other's butts and crotches, like, I can't. I really can't. I'm sorry. So that's why I had to cut that off immediately. And I had a similar issue with Lovesick in that there were some cuts that implied that some things were happening that I'm like, this seems wildly inappropriate because I know for a fact this one character is 14 in real life. But
14?
Yeah, there was a character, the actor who plays Can in Love by Chance, his name is Plan. He was in Lovesick, and I believe that Plan is either 17 or 18 now, but Lovesick took place around 3 years ago. So if he was 17, if he's 17 now, and that was 3 years ago, that means he was 14 when the show filmed.
That means he was my age.
Yeah, and so there's some boys that are like 15 and 16 years old, and there's a little bit of kissing here and there, but a lot of like scenes of entwined feet and stuff like that, and it's kind of like, it's a bit much, especially also because they're playing high school students, but they're not playing like late year high school students. Some of them are maybe freshmen, sophomore high school students, like that age range. These kids are out of the bar drinking. These kids are at home drinking. And a lot of these kids in these shows are shown, again, shirtless, like whatever. But also, they imply that they're sleeping together. And as a parent, I really have a hard time conceptualizing 15 and 16-year-olds having sex. That's a lot for me. It's a lot for me. So that's the reason why it's just like, I don't know. I would prefer if you were all college students.
You're right in thinking so.
Thank you.
That shows you're not a weirdo and creepy and gross.
I'm not a weirdo. I might be creepy and gross, but I'm not a weirdo. Anyway, I missed a comment here. It says, that's right, I love that about Chinese dramas as well, but it's because of most of their dramas are based on famous novels, which is why the plot is so important. Now, I will say that the boys' love dramas in Thailand also are based on novels, because like Tharn Type, Love by Chance, they're all novels. But the novels are very difficult to get your hands on if you're a Western fan. And they tend to have terrible translations. Like I looked at one translation for, I think it might have been, was it Tharn Type? It was some show. I looked at a translation and it was so amateur, and like if you speak English, it would be impossible to read because there's no sentence structure, the grammar is wrong. Like it is like somebody took all of the Thai and ran it through Google Translate, spit it out and said, here you go, a book. So there are novels and they do well, they sell well. They have whole websites where these things are purchased in bulk, but it's just the translations are really bad. So it's hard for you to tell if the novel was any good or if there's any nuance missing because they're just so poorly translated. But let's talk about one thing that I have noticed across the board with boys' love. And I mentioned it briefly when I was talking about Addicted, but I will mention it again more in depth. The kind of violent sexual pressure that more docile males are put under in these stories. So, watching Addicted, the Simi, I guess is it Simi and Yuki? Is that how you pronounce it? Let me know in the comments. The Simi role was constantly jumping on the Yuki, like always like jumping on him and kissing him and grabbing him, and you could tell that the other guy is very uncomfortable. Not as an actor, but like the character he's playing, the character is being played as uncomfortable. And it makes it feel more like, hey David, it makes it feel more like rape non-con than emotion. And that came into really stark contrast for me when I first started watching Tharn Type. So I started watching Tharn Type a little bit late. I got into it probably about 3 or 4 episodes deep, but I'm currently. And when I started watching Tharn Type, there's a scene where Type falls asleep and Tharn wants to get revenge on a drunk Type because Type has been being an asshole. Like he really legitimately has been being the worst. So in Type's sleep, Tharn sucks hickeys onto his chest and neck while he's passed out drunk. And I know some people will say, oh, well, that's not a big deal. It's a hickey. It's not like he pulled down his pants and saw his genitals or anything. But if Type had been a girl and Tharn had sucked hickeys onto a girl's chest and neck, it would be beyond creepy. It would be like, I'm calling the cops and I'm showing them what you've done to me. So that was really awkward. I don't know how they established a romantic relationship from that. Then, not that long after that, there's a scene where Type is in the shower and Tharn comes in, supposedly to bring him his towel, I guess, but steps into the shower with him. We don't know if he's nude from the waist down. He looks like he's nude from the chest up, at least. And proceeds to kiss Type very aggressively. And Type doesn't look like he's really into it at first. And still doesn't look like he's into it throughout the whole majority of it. But after kissing him very aggressively on the mouth, proceeds to travel downward and give him what looks to be a non-consensual blowjob. And again, the novels that it was based on a novel. The novel may have had like character thoughts and motivations, like there's a narrative, and it's not non-con, it's more reluctance or maybe shyness or whatever else. None of that is expressed on the screen. So it gets really weird to see a love story play out after that, because it's so very like and like, I don't know, it looks really bad. And then also like the panicked response that Type has afterwards, where he runs out the bathroom and tries to lock Tharn in the bathroom, and he's like trying to get his head together. Again, it makes it seem like he didn't really want that. But again, Tharn Type is one of those ones that if you watch it, you really have to set aside your realistic expectations, because there's a lot that's wrong with the relationship between Tharn and Type. This is starting to turn into boys love unpopular opinions. Okay.
Ooh, unpopular opinion.
Hello. This is your British narrator robot voice. I will be reading the unpopular opinion of a YouTuber who's afraid to put their face on the screen. Just kidding. I mean bad.
Isn't as good as Sodas 2.
There's all types of weird things that people put on their unpopular opinions that aren't really popular. Okay. So the comment says, sometimes many parts of the novels are deleted and those that didn't read it get the idea differently. I kind of understand, as I started with the drama and not the novel of it. Exactly. And that's why I say, like, there's a lot that's lost in translation. So in the show Tharn Type is an asshole. I'm going to just say it straight up and down. Type is an asshole. I just got through talking about all the uncomfortable physical interactions that Type has with Tharn, and how Tharn is mad aggressive sexually, to the point that it veers on sexual assault, if not crosses the border. But Type actually physically assaults Tharn several times in the series. He has slapped Tarn, he has punched Tarn, he has kicked Tarn in the nuts. On top of that, he's verbally abusive to Tarn, tells him he doesn't like him, tells him that he needs to act a certain way and perform a certain way in order to be able to be eligible to be his partner. And when you see stuff like that, it makes you really upset, and it takes away from the hugging moments and the caressing your hair and saying, you know, I love you for you and that kind of thing. All that flies out the window when you are beating the shit out of somebody that you supposedly love. So the first time that Type slaps Tharn, it is because Tharn says, "You're my woman." Okay. Insecurity about masculinity, I get it, but that's not the way you respond. So let me set the scene for you. At this point in the story, Tharn and Type have been sleeping together for a number of weeks. But Type is not comfortable with identifying as gay because when he was a child, he was raped by a grown man. When he was like, I would say 8 or 10, like a young boy. But he was kidnapped and sexually assaulted by a man. And so since then, he has been homophobic. But at some point, he decides to engage in a sexual relationship with Tharn. Again, we don't get character motivation as to why he wants to do this. It just literally, he wakes up one day and says, I want to repay you a debt by sleeping with you. Seriously. So they've been sleeping together, but Type is uncomfortable with identifying himself as a gay male. So he decides to begin dating a young woman, hoping that maybe by advancing a relationship with a woman, he'll no longer feel the need or the urge to have a sexual relationship with Tharn. So he gets caught two-timing Tharn. But before he's caught two-timing, they had agreed that their relationship was one of sexual friendship, are like basically, you know, friends with benefits, not a dating relationship. Even though Tharn had been very upfront by saying, I like you, I would like to date you, I'd like to be your boyfriend, but in the meantime, I'm willing to be, you know, your sex friend. So Tharn is hurt about the fact that he finds out that Type is dating a woman from one of Type's friends rather than type being upfront about it, which that's a valid anger to have. If I'm sharing my body with you and I'm putting myself at risk of disease transmission, you owe it to me to let me know if you're sleeping with other partners. That's safe sex. That's what you're allowed to have. And so he's right to be upset that you are sleeping with other partners behind my back and compromising my health. And also, you know, I have an emotional feeling for you. And by you basically going around my back, I feel like I'm being emotionally manipulated. So Tharn expresses all that. And Type is like, fuck you. I just fuck you when I'm in the mood. And I'm going to be with a woman because I'm not gay like you are. And Tharn emotionally responds with, you know, but you're my boyfriend. Well, basically you're my woman, but translation issues. Type proceeds to smack Tharn, like open-handed smack him. And when that happens, I, of course, was like, the fuck is going on? Like, that would have been the moment that not only would our physical...
Type sounds a bit abusive, not gonna lie.
He is abusive. So when that happens, for me, the sexual relationship would have been over. There would have been no more. But instead, Tharn kind of internalizes that and pulls back and agrees to a series of rules about what friends with benefits should be. And they're rules like, if I want to fuck somebody else, it's none of your business. You better not question me about what I want to do. Let me be me. If you can't abide by these rules, then we can't sleep together anymore. And Tharn totally agrees to it. Because Tharn is a bitch baby. And it's just, it sets a very strange precedent. And throughout the series, it is Tharn constantly looking for acknowledgement from Type, looking for Type to be gentle, looking for Type to be kind, and living for these moments where Type really is very kind and very gentle and very sensitive. But in between that, he has these mad mood swings of like, I don't want anybody to know I'm dating you. I don't want anybody to know that we are affectionate to each other. I don't want you to assume that I like having sex with you. Like, it's so wild. But in the latest episode of Tharn Type assaults Tharn 2 different times. And both of them are wildly inappropriate. So the first time he assaults Tharn in this last episode, Tharn gets kissed by another man. Tharn is not actively kissing this other man. This man grabs Tharn by the shoulders and starts kissing him. Type sees this, runs into the building where they are, and proceeds to sucker punch Tharn. Even though Tharn was being kissed on, he wasn't an active participant. Which is crazy.
Can you tell when someone's being kissed or they're there?
If I grab you by your shoulders, and I'm pulling you to me and kissing you, and your arms...
Oh.
Yeah. It's obvious that I'm kissing you, you're not kissing me.
Mm.
If you're not touching me, holding me, moving your mouth, you're just there while I'm grabbing you, I'm kissing you, you're not kissing me. So he sucker punches him for that. Then, after that incident, Type proceeds to flirt with some girls at a bar in front of Tharn to show him what jealousy feels like. And then they go behind the alley or whatever to talk, and he proceeds to knee Tharn in the crotch. I know, right? It's crazy.
What is this?
I know.
What kind of misery is this?
I have to keep watching. Like, I'm still watching the show, because like I said, there are...
Are you gonna say that this is like a toxic relationship, or...
That's the thing. Anybody who's watched Love by Chance knows that Tharn Type is a derivative of Love by Chance. Type is played by a different actor, but the character is in Love by Chance, and the character is effusive about his boyfriend. Like, he's constantly talking about how his boyfriend's a great cook, and his boyfriend is so smart, and he's basically whipped for his boyfriend in Love by Chance. Watching Tharn Type, I have no idea how they got to that state. None at all. Because it's just so damn rocky and volatile between them right now that I can't guess it. I really cannot guess it. But yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough, but I really like the actors, so I keep watching. But it's been tough.
No me gusta.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you get you a bowl so I could pour you some instead of you constantly stealing my popcorn? Sorry about that, guys. All right, so I've talked quite a bit about Tharn type. Is there anything else I could talk about? Oh, I know something I need to talk about. Okay, so I'm watching Until We Meet Again, which is a really fun show, at least to me, because it's a reincarnation story. So there's
Where they
two.
kill themselves.
Yes.
In the first 7 minutes.
Yes, they do kill themselves in the first 7 minutes.
Well, that's not a spoiler because, like, it's the first few minutes. So
Literally, the first few minutes. I haven't been reading Boys Love manga. I've got a couple of websites that I am looking at to read it, but manga's expensive, so I don't read as much because you gotta buy it first, and I buy K-pop, so I can only put my money in one of two directions. Anyway, I digress. So, Mangago is the best option. Keep that in mind. So, I'm watching Until We Meet Again, and there's two characters on the show named Korn and In, I-N. Korn and In are in love with each other, but they are in love with each other in the 70s when gayness was really not accepted, even more so than now. It was like high-key biased against, prejudiced against, like people were not wanting to hear about it. And the two boys were also facing trouble with their families because their fathers, both of them had fathers that were very much opposed. So in a moment in time, their fathers bust in on them after they have had this kind of long confessional with each other and proceed to try to pull the two lovers away. And the one lover pulls a gun from his father's waist, I believe, and shoots himself in the head. The other character, In, sees the suicide, grabs the gun, shoots himself in the head. They both die within, I would say, seconds of each other. And that's how the series starts. So they're reincarnated to modern day times. And the one character who was, I guess, the Yuki, the bottom, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it. He is named Pham. And the Simi, the top, is named Dean. And the actor who plays Pham is a really good actor. Like I've never seen anybody cry silent tears as well as he does. He's really good at it. But he plays one of my least favorite types of characters in Boys Love currently. And it is the uber docile substitute for a woman character. And I know, right? So the story is good. I like the story. Like, I enjoy the episodes. Don't get me wrong. It actually is a really great watch if you and they've only got 4 episodes so far. So if you start now, you can catch up really fast. But he likes to cook. He wants to run his own restaurant. He is very thin. He is very short. He has a very high voice, and he is very shy and unsure of himself, and ultra polite.
Gay guys are gay guys. Don't try and put them into heteronormative positions.
Well, I'm going to say this. There are men out there who are very delicate. Like, there really are.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're the woman in the relationship.
I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying there are gay men out there. There are non-binary men out there who are very delicate.
Well, if
there
you're non-binary, you're not a man.
Are you not a man? Aren't you whatever you want to be? What if you're gender fluid and today you're a man and tomorrow you're a woman?
But then that'd be a gender fluid man.
You could be non-binary, gender fluid, and be a man at the same time. Open your eyes. You can be anything you want to. Except an octopus. But you can be virtually anything else. Anyway, you're getting me into a conversation I'm not trying to have.
There's Casa Cerrado where a guy got horn implants. And I don't know why he was getting sued. Maybe he did something illegally to get those horn injections. It was scary.
I bet. So back to the story at hand. So there are men who are very gentle spirits. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have seen over and over and over and over and over that these softer spirited men, these more gentle spirited men, tend to be bottoms universally. as if that makes it okay or makes it better because they are so woman-like. And I dislike it in a lot of ways. I dislike it because you never have a feminine, softer man paired with another feminine, softer man. The only time they both come across as kind of soft is when they're both very, very young. And that's because the actors tend to be a little bit less experienced, so they both kind of come across as a little shy and awkward because they're teenagers being asked to act like they're horny for each other and be half naked. So when that happens, of course, they both come across as a little bit shy and awkward. But for grown actors, actors in their 20s, it's always a really soft, feminine energy man and a very strong, masculine, bulkier energy top man.
Gaston and LeFou.
No, because LeFou's not even as delicate as some of these ones are.
Yeah, but like Gaston's the more manly one.
Yeah, but LeFou's not delicate. LeFou is kind of gregarious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is something that it bothers me because, I mean, there's a reason why Boys Love has become so popular in recent years. It is because it's a safe outlet for sexuality for young girls. So a lot of young girls who maybe aren't ready to broach the topic of sexuality in terms of them sleeping with men, Boys Love is really nice because it's a way to present sexuality without telling women that you have to conform to a certain standard in order to be attractive to a man, because the man doesn't have attraction for women in most of these stories, or if they do, the man that they're involved with is special. But they usually show utter disregard for the females in their life, and most of the females in their life are cast as victims and are as villains, so it's a whole thing. There's a big psychology behind Boys Love. But it provides a kind of female archetype character, but it is a man. So their sexuality or their sexual endeavors are presented as a more welcoming, a more accessible introduction to sex that doesn't question breast size for a woman or talk anything about female genitalia. Instead, it's cast as romantic, similar to straight relationships, but it's not. So you don't have to feel pressure on yourself to live up to the stereotype of the female character. And I get it, because we do that in America all the time. When you look at the Mortal Instruments, if you look at Twilight, if you look at a lot of these young adult novels and series that are focused on a female lead character, she is the every woman. She is the white, brown-haired every woman, but she is the every woman. And there's nothing particularly special about her until one day she's gifted a gift and every man walking the earth wants to be with her. But it's a way to tell your average teenager that you don't have to be beautiful and supermodel-y and blonde in order to have a relationship. And I get it, but I also know that Boys Love serves a function that perhaps the people who start Boys Love series don't intend. And what it serves a function for is providing happy endings to young gay men. So I was talking to Mason, because Mason is my Boys Love compatriot. We talk a lot about Boys Love together. And he was saying how he doesn't watch Boys Love that ends in tragedy. He refuses to do so because a lot of gay media that is created by straight people or non-LGBT people tends to look at gay... You're going to tip over that entire bowl.
I'm sorry.
Tends to look at gay relationships as these traumatic relationships, or like, you know, they have to come to a tragic end. And because
Call Me by Your Name.
Well, okay, it's Call Me by Your Name, but it's also like in the 90s, Philadelphia and the Band Played On, all of these movies about the AIDS.
I've never heard about
Well, they're all movies about the AIDS epidemic. And of course, Brokeback Mountain. They're all stories that end in tragedy. And could you imagine, as a straight person, if all the media you watched, 70% of it had sad, tragic endings where the main characters don't get together and everything goes wrong? It would be disheartening. It would make it seem like, what's the point of continuing if everything ends fucking happy or unhappy?
Romeo and Juliet, 500 Days of Summer.
Mm-hmm. Now look at you. Well, look at you searching for movies that have sad endings, but you don't have to look very far to list 20 rom-coms with happy endings. You could literally take a list of the movies in the theater right now, and of that list that contains straight relationships, probably 90% of those stories have happy endings.
Like 13 going on 30, well, the part where it's like, I love you and I'm going to go back in time to marry. That.
But there's so many happy endings for straight people. And for gay people, there's not been as many happy endings, partially because of the Hays Code back in early Hollywood, where they already didn't want you to promote or show gay relationships. And then it became, well, you can show them, but you have to show how they always end in tragedy because being gay is wrong. So these Boys Love series, in a lot of ways, serve as the happy ending. They serve as the Degrassi. They serve as the teen show, the Disney Channel and the Nickelodeon type of shows, that young gay men don't get. Young gay men don't get, what is That's So Raven and those kind of shows. That's not for them. Those would be lovely to have, but it's just not their reality.
But shout out to Disney Channel for making Cyrus from Andy Mack gay.
Yeah, but that show wasn't particularly happy ending either.
Well, he sort of did get a boyfriend.
And then they canceled the show.
Well, yeah.
So, watching A Love by Chance, watching a Tharn type, watching Theory of Love, a lot of times these happy endings are revolutionary for young gay men to be able to constantly have media that tells you that you are allowed to be happy, that you could meet somebody and have a fairy tale ending and be in love forever, because so much media doesn't focus on that, and that's the reason why I hate the fact that they make it seem like in order to have this happy ending, both parts of the relationship have to fit into this very defined stereotype. And I think that we could maybe present different bodies, different attitudes. One of the things that I really like about the series Together With Me, I watched Together With Me first and then I watched Bad Romance, is that the two main male characters that are in love with each other are both big men. They're not like heavy men, like obese men. It's more like they're both larger shoulders, bigger builds, more muscular. And it's really nice because it makes it seem like you can both have masculine attributes and still engage with each other. Whereas so many others, like I said, one has to be delicate, one has to be super buff. What we haven't seen so much, though, would be more heavyset guys, more super skinny guys, guys that have disabilities. Like, it'd be nice to introduce some of that. That was what drew me to watch Gay OK Bangkok, is that they had a larger, older man in a relationship with a younger, more muscular, conventionally attractive man. And it showed that their relationship was based on kind of a mutually beneficial environment, but that when one of them ended up having to have more sexual desires, I guess, that broke them up. But it was okay because the older gay man was still very, very popular. So that's the reason why I was really happy to watch that series. There were some things on there that I wasn't so happy with, that I thought could have been done a little bit better. I hated the fact that the one character was such an asshole and treated his friend so poorly. I was upset that one of the characters just could not find a man at all ever. But outside of that, there were a lot of really good things about Gay OK Bangkok, especially the way that they talked about HIV and sexually transmitted diseases amongst gay men. I thought it was really, really nice. So that's the reason why I enjoyed the series quite a bit. Okay, there's been some comments, but there's like a troll in the comments, so I haven't really been paying attention. I apologize. So can you give us some insight in what it's like living as a male to female trans woman? Thanks and love. Okay, sure. I can give you some insight to that. So I was born a female, and I'm still currently a female. My daughter is sitting on the couch over there. I gave birth to her. It was via C-section. But I've known several men who have converted to female because I used to work at a gay community center just out of high school. And living that life is tough. There was one woman that I remember, her name was Andrea, and it's been, 20 years since then. But Andrea was in IT. And back 20 years ago, if you were in IT, you were making big money because not everybody was doing it. And so Andrea was in IT and made a ton of money and was doing very well for herself. But then decided, Andrea didn't start out as Andrea. Andrea started out with another name. Decided that they wanted to transition. And upon starting transition, things were okay. But then all of a sudden, her boss started to see problems with her performance and problems meeting goals and expectations. And the job performance was the same as it's always been. Things were good as they always were, but it became an excuse to lay Andrea off. And after a while, it became about not being able to say, we don't want you here because you're becoming a woman. It was, we don't want you here because you're a distraction or you're not performing to the standard that we have for you, even if what you're setting is a literally impossible standard. So it is tough to be trans and to transition from male to female because people have an expectation of who you are.
Oh, especially male to female. Female to male, you might be okay because I think like the majority of the transgender community that switches from the two genders is mostly female to male.
Mm-hmm.
But for male to female, especially if you're a person of color, you got it bad.
Well, it's just hard because people expect you to fit one role in life. And people are very closed-minded about allowing you to be something that they didn't see for you starting out in life. So let's say that you're born and your name is Ronald. And Ronald is 6 feet tall, broad build. Ronald might have a deep voice. Ronald likes to hang with the boys. Ronald is what most people consider a man's man. But then Ronald all of a sudden decides that he wants to be Cherie. And Cherie is somebody that most of the community doesn't know. And they become unwilling to know Cherie because they're holding on to their image and their expectations and their previous knowledge of Ronald. And so it becomes a big problem for people to kind of let go of their expectations of who you were and see you for who you are. But that's life. Like, that's the way it is with brothers and sisters. Like, you've always been my little sister, so you'll always be little in my mind. Like, no, I'm 50 years old, I'm grown now. So everybody has that kind of expectation of others that slowly begins to make it to where they can't accept the changes that people end up going through. And that's just life all over the place. So yeah, that would be my insight. I mean, I've never done it myself, but as an outsider who have talked to people who've gone through it, it's that expectation of, we expect you to be one way and you end up being another, and it's very hard for people to accept that you've changed. That's another thing that you don't really see a lot of when it comes to Thai boys love series, at least that I haven't seen, in the Taiwanese and the Chinese boys love series that I'm watching, I haven't seen any shows where they have significant transgender characters. Thailand, on the other hand, though, has had some shows that have transgendered characters. There are the ladyboy Kathui characters that are drawn into the story. And it's nice to see the representation in terms of them actually existing as a part of society, going to college, going to school, all of those things. But the negative drawback for that is really the part where they are all periphery characters. Like, they're all kind of like, how do you put it? Like, they're exposition queens. So let's say that one character needs to find out that another character is talking bad about them on Facebook. That's where your ladyboy character comes and says, ooh, sis, did you hear on Facebook they're saying this, that, the other? They don't actually get romantic interest from people. Like they very rarely have boyfriends or girlfriends or anyone that they're in a romantic relationship with. They're always seen as like chasing but never catching. And that's another thing that's very difficult. And again, because these stories are really targeted to girls, I don't think that the producers see it as being a negative or being something that they need to focus on. But it is very difficult when these characters are trying to be seen, but they're not seen in full humanity. They're seen as characters that are the decoration for the rest of the story. And so I would like to see more of that, especially because some of the actors that are in these shows are really talented actors, and you see them in multiple series, and it's obvious they could pull off an entire relationship arc on their own, but they're not given that opportunity. And that makes me a little bit sad. That's something that I would like to see different moving forward into some of these Thai stories. But I've seen some stories treat transgendered people very respectfully, and I feel like progress is being made, but not enough so far. But that's just, these are my complaints about some of the things that I'm seeing over and over again in a lot of these boys love series. So that is what it is. Let's see, is there anything else that I need to talk about? I don't think so. Let's see here. So I'm trying to see if there's anything that I missed. Oh, I don't think so. Oh yeah, I'm not seeing anything else I'm missing from here. Yeah, I think I'm good. All right. Well, now that I've talked about as much stuff as I needed to get off of my mind when it came to me talking about boys love, is there anything else that anybody wanted to talk about? Because I feel like a lot of people watch my lives to talk about K-pop, and I haven't really talked about K-pop that much. To be honest with you, my work schedule has been damn near impossible recently. So that's the reason why I haven't talked that much about K-pop. So Anthony says, by the way, I've been getting addicted to EXO's Obsession album. Anthony, you are alone. I'm sorry. I listened to EXO's Obsession album the day it came out. I listened to it on YouTube because SM has been kind enough to put all of the tracks on EXO's official channel. So you can actually listen to the entire album on EXO's YouTube channel. And I listened to the album, and there were 4 songs that I really liked. But the rest of the album, it was like, it would be almost perfect, but then one really bad thing would happen in the song that would completely throw me out the song. What?
Nothing.
Okay. So when it comes to Obsession, I've decided I'm going to wait to see what happens with the repack, but I'm not going to buy this current one right now. I bought Don't Mess Up My Tempo when it came out, and then the repack was Love Shot. I still haven't bought Love Shot, the repack, but had I known that a repack was happening, which I should have because that's common practice for SM, I probably would have just bought Love Shot on its own. But I thought that Lay was going to be in the photo book for Don't Mess Up My Tempo, so SM tricked me.
Don't mess up my tempo.
As time has gone on, I really actually like Tempo a lot, but I still think that Gravity is the far superior song. Stephanie, can you do me a favor? Can you go out my purse and get my phone for me? Thank you. Did you watch the Japanese drama Osan's Love? I think it's very nicely done and shows a more positive way of coming out of men in Japan. No, I have not, but I'll have to write that down so I can check it out later. Can you walk a little bit faster than how you're currently walking? Our living room is not that big. It is not that big.
Sorry.
5 minutes.
Sorry.
I would believe you're sorry if I thought you meant it.
I made it.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay, so I'm going to go down the track list of EXO's Obsession because I do want to tell you guys about the songs that I like. I don't want to be like totally Nancy negative because it seems like I'm being that way. But there are songs that I like on this track list. So the songs that I like on this track list, I liked Ya 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 a lot, especially because Ya 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 I think is the song that has the sample from the SWV song, You're the One. So I really like that song a lot. I also liked Baby You Are. I thought that was a good song. And I liked Nonstop. I thought Nonstop was okay. So those were the songs that I liked, but I didn't like the lead track. I didn't like Trouble. Yeah, there was a lot that was left to be desired for me when it came to this album. Also, I wasn't keen on the packaging. The packaging was a little bit to me. There you go. All right, got it. Good job. Sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to keep up with all the comments, but it's hard sometimes. Okay, so that is everything I think that I had to say about EXO's album. Oh, okay, now I know what I need to talk about. I can bury it in this video because nobody's going to look this far. People are going to get to the boys love stuff and then the transgender stuff and then they're going to go away. So let me get to the point that I really need to talk about when it comes to EXO and why Twitter once again shows its ass. So EXO's got this comeback. We're all very happy for, or at least I'm happy for them. You know, even though I'm not as big of an EXO fan as I was in the past, I'm happy to see them come back because I really like EXO. I think they're a good group. So I'm really excited that EXO is coming back. And apparently so are their friends, including Taemin of the group SHINee. And he sends a food truck to celebrate with EXO about their comeback. And on the food truck, he's like, you know, congratulations to Kai, Baekhyun, and the rest of EXO. Love the members of Super M. And Twitter collectively lost its fucking mind. Like, there were so many people who were like, how dare he send a food truck and not just say, congratulations, EXO, you're being biased, you hate EXO so much. Then there were people on the other side, Showers, who were like, how dare you say you're Taemin from Super M, you're a SHINee first. And it's like,
it doesn't matter.
It's not even that it doesn't matter. It's like, you are really missing the point here. Like, they just got through doing a tour as Super M. They just got through doing a whole release as Super M. That is the unit they were all promoting as together extremely recently. So to say this is a food truck from the other members of Super M to these two members of Super M who are having to come back in their other group, that's not weird. That's not strange. That's not inappropriate. It would be like if you and I both go to different colleges, but we do a project together as a joint venture between our colleges. If you go back to your college and do something else and I send you congratulations and I remind you of the project we shared, it's not saying that you're not a member of your college and I'm not a member of mine. It's just like, we had a really great time working on this together. Do you remember? I do. Congratulations on the stuff you're doing for your full-time work. And it's just, it is like, can you guys not? Also, because it shows how new people are to the fandom. Like, it has to be people who are extremely new to K-pop that would fix their mouths to say that Taemin is not acknowledging himself as a member of SHINee, or to say that Taemin hates EXO and is only supportive of Super M. Because if you know anything about the history of these two groups together, especially Taemin and Kai are what we call lifelong friends. They've known each other since they were like wee boys.
When we were wee babes.
So they, of course, are extremely close. But EXO is very, very close to SHINee. Like these groups are very tight. And when you look at the video of when SHINee won their Daesung, it was 2013 when they won their Daesung, you can see all of EXO getting up collectively to hug and support and love on SHINee because they were all trainees together. Like in the history of SM, SHINee and the boys from EXO were all trainees together, and it just so happened that they picked these 5 members to be a part of SHINee, but they were all a part of the same trainee pool. So, yes, they're very close to one another. Very, very close. And of anyone on the planet, they're some of the few people that can understand each other very well because they know what it's like to be famous in Korea, to do international stuff, and to have to deal with the bullshit that is SM. So they share a bond that the rest of us couldn't begin to fathom. And for that reason alone, it's like you really don't know what time it is. You really don't know about the history. You really don't know what's going on. You really have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Not only that, but for anyone to fix their mouths to say that Taemin is trying to distance himself from SHINee is borderline laughable. Every single time that Taemin has done anything, V-Lives, interviews, albums, concert performances, every single thing, he always like, I'm Taemin from SHINee. He is the biggest SHINee stan. The only person who stands SHINee more than him was Jonghyun and Minho. He is the biggest SHINee. SHINee is his family. He talks about them constantly. Those are his brothers. He celebrates their birthdays. He goes to visit them. Like, he loves SHINee. He loves being a part of SHINee. It is integral to his development as an artist. So for anyone to fix their mouth again to say that Taemin is not happy to be a part of SHINee or he doesn't want to be associated with SHINee, again, you have missed the entire plot, especially considering how close all of them were before Jonghyun passed and how close they have become since he passed. You really don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And there were a lot of things on Twitter that made me mad in the last several weeks, but that was one of the ones that I'm like, I can't be quiet about it. You really don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because that's family. That is family. But it's like you were saying in the comments, fans would lose their collective minds if they didn't have something hateful to say. It is like people refuse to allow themselves to be drama-free. People refuse to allow themselves to be happy. Because if you were okay with being happy, then you would be fine with allowing people to do fun stuff, to explore new options. Like, Super M was a great example of people being salty about all the wrong things. EXOs were so fucking salty about Super M, even though nothing about that Super M project diminished what EXO was doing. Because EXO came out with Obsession end of November, beginning December. That means that there were at least 10 other months before that they could have done something. They could have done something January, February, March, April, May, June, July. They didn't. Whether it was because SM was being wild or whatever else, they didn't. You can't look at Super M and be like, they're the reason why EXO is not getting a comeback. Especially considering, again, that EXO got a comeback immediately after Super M quit touring. Immediately afterwards. So what are we really talking about here? Are you just mad because EXO is this thing in your mind that can't do anything other than exist as EXO, that the individual members can't explore anything outside of that universe? Is that who you are? Because if that's who you are as a fan, you suck. You know, people have lives. People are individuals. They're not just their group. And it's stupid and ridiculous to me that we continue to promote this idea that if it's not the group, it's not worthy of attention or admiration or participation. It breaks a lot of people's hearts. think about all of the groups that have had members do solos that are not supported by the fans. Can you imagine how heartbreaking that is when you go to a concert and your fans are like, we love you, you're so great, everything you do is so wonderful, we love you so much. You're like, great, because I'm coming out with a solo album for you guys because I want to do some music that's a little bit different than what the group does, and I'm doing it by myself because the whole group isn't into this style of music, and all of a sudden you hear crickets. The fans aren't there. They let your shit flop because we support you in the context of our group alone. That's hurtful. That is really, really hurtful. And I don't know how fans justify that for themselves. I'll be honest. When Taemin first went solo, I was salty because I thought that Jonghyun should have been allowed to go solo first. But I didn't have a problem with anybody from SHINee going solo because I understood the group will always be there. You'll always come back to the group. But these fans who are like, you can't have anything unless it's within the confines of this thing right here. You are not allowed to have any idol friends. You're not allowed to go on anybody's show that we don't like. You're not allowed to send congratulations to anybody. You're only allowed to exist as this member of this group at this time and in this space. That fucking sucks. That makes no sense. And people should be ashamed of having that mentality. They really should. Because it's not fair. It's really not fair. So, Janine says, Stan Twitter has the horrible habit of looking into every tiny detail surrounding an idol or group to find something they didn't say or do perfectly. It's ludicrous. Absolutely. Every fucking thing gets criticized with a fine-tooth comb. And the thing is, if somebody was to turn it around and examine your life with a fine-tooth comb, the rest of us would never make it. We would never make it. These same people who shit on you on Twitter, let them become an idol and have their tweets exposed. Let somebody comb through their personal history and see how clean you come out on the other side. You couldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. You would fail. You would never make it. One, because you're talentless. But two, because your past is shitty and shady and dirty and full of ways that people could critique you to being an awful person. Whether it was true or not. But there's things that you say that could be left up for interpretation that people would say, and this is why you don't deserve to be famous. I know it'd be for me. Do you know how many fucking live streams I have on my channel that would immediately disqualify me for being an idol? Fuck! Just now saying fuck I wouldn't be allowed to be an idol because my past is so fucking screwed up when it comes to the whitewashed perfection that the public seems to expect from idols that just is not realistic in any way, shape, or form. So yeah. What are we doing here? What are we really doing here? Why do we feel like they need to be so much more unrealistic than us? That makes no damn sense. Makes no damn sense. Speaking of people who have unrealistic goals, let's talk about Produce and about the unrealistic goal that people had of thinking that they were ever going to make it to the final group when the final group had been decided from day one. So the news has been coming out over recent weeks, and I talked about it a few weeks ago, around the time when Wonho left Monsta X. A little bit after that, I talked about the Produce stuff. But it has come out that not only does Produce seem to be rigged, but that every member of IZ*ONE and every member of X*ONE were chosen before the season even began. Not only that, but Ulam and Starship are accused of paying off the producer to get their artist in the final group. Now, am I surprised? No, because I want to say that in the video that I filmed a few weeks ago, I mentioned that Starship probably couldn't defend Wonho or bring Wonho back because they were going to have to deal with all of the Produce bullshit that was coming out around them. And I felt like at the time that I said it, that it was common knowledge that Starship was one of the companies that paid off the producer of Produce. Maybe it wasn't in the news, but like people had to know that was true. Like I couldn't have been making this up in my mind. I feel like there was talk about this before today's news came out. But like, okay, prime example of what I mean when I say Starship had to have been cheating, fucking Yaewon. Fucking Yaewon. What the fuck did she do that qualified her to be in IZ*ONE? Not a single fucking thing. Fight me in the comments if you wanna. Smile now, cry later. What the hell did he... All he did was cry. All he did was cry. How did he make it into X1? I have no idea. And there have been so many people on both seasons that you would look at them like, this is the one that's going to make it into the group because they're so fucking talented and we like them so much and the public loves them so much. And then they get eliminated and you get shocked and you're like, how the hell did that... You were doing so good for weeks. How could you... No. From day one, everything has been manipulated. And I'm surprised that people are surprised. Honestly. I'm honestly surprised that people are surprised. Because I'm not. Because the results have been so crazy and so skewed that it couldn't have been anything other than a cheat. Obviously, Pledis is broke. Let's just talk about that right off the bat. Obviously, Pledis is broke because Jonghyun from New East should have been in 101. But apparently, Pledis couldn't come up with the money to get 2 of their members in the 101 lineup, so they only got 1.
You picked the form of a booby.
But
Waterfall.
It's obvious that it was a cheat because I didn't even watch the season of Produce that 101 was in. But how do you go from being 1 and 2 for weeks on end and then all of a sudden, bam, you were out of the top rankings? What could you have done in a week's time that will completely drop you out of the top rankings when you've been on the top for so long? Same thing with Samuel. Like Samuel, from the very beginning of the second season of Produce, it was obvious to everyone that Sammy had it. Samuel had it all. Like he could dance, he could sing, he could rap, he was multilingual, he was decent looking. His nose is a little awkward, but that's just a personal preference. He had it all. And then he gets knocked out of the top ranking, even though he had been doing well this whole time. But it was obvious that Mnet didn't want him to make it because they slowly stopped giving him screen time the whole way. And it's like, okay, is your company broke? Did they not give the producer the strip club dances that he asked for, and that's the reason why he didn't make it into the group? It made no sense. It continued to make no sense. But then let's move to the next season, which is the IZ*ONE season. Gan from Pledis, one of 2 of the Giraffe sisters. We call them Giraffe sisters because they're tall and got long necks. But the Giraffe sisters. She starts out the show super strong. People like her. They can tell she's talented. She seems like she's ready to go. And also, she's a former member of After School. So people are like, she's going to make it. She's got it. She's going to make it. How does she not make it into the final ranking? After ranking so high for so many weeks, having such a following and so many people rooting for her, how does she not make it in the final ranking? Easy. Pledis couldn't pay. Pledis couldn't pay to get 2 members of New East onto the show. They couldn't pay to get Gan into the last one. They just didn't have the money. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. And that's why she missed out. That's why she missed out. And it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. It sucks that somebody as talented as her misses out on the final lineup, but you get a Hyewon who can't even close her fucking mouth half the time, who looks like she's perennially lost most of the time. She makes it into the group with no visible skill in terms of actual idolhood. Not a dancer, not a singer, but Starship's got cash. They got all that leftover Sistar and Monsta X cash. So they were able to pay for the lap dances to get their person to #1. Then we have this current season, and you've got 2 members of Victon, 2 members of Uptension that people are like, we would like to see them go far. These are the ones. We would really like to see them make it. Obviously, their companies have got cash and can make something happen. But the issue is that when it came to Uptension, they picked the wrong one to make it into the finale. It should have been Jinyook. It should have been because the public was so behind him after Turtle Ship Week. But they had already agreed that Usyk was going to make it. And so they just had to keep going with that narrative. But yeah, just fucking... Players don't have no money, so they couldn't afford to get their people into the final. But apparently Starship does. Apparently Ulam does. And it just fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. But the worst thing about all of this is that now that it's been announced that the trainees were chosen from day one, the argument that a lot of people had that you shouldn't blame the trainees, they weren't the ones that were cheating, it was their companies that were cheating, and it's not the trainees' fault that they got caught up in these schemes of these old men. The faith that the public has that these trainees were innocent is going to slowly but surely erode. Already, people were saying you should disband the group because it's a bunch of cheaters. And I was one of the people who did say, I think you should, because the people who cheated should not be allowed to benefit from ill-gotten gain. But now that they've said that every single member was rigged, where are these kids going to go when this is over? That's a question that nobody is answering. What are these kids going to do when this is over? I think of poor little Johan. And if we're to believe his backstory that was presented on the show, he gave up a Taekwondo scholarship in order to be an idol. Is he going to be able to go back and be a Taekwondo master? Is he going to be able to go back and reclaim his scholarship? Because obviously, if he's trying to be in the entertainment industry with the taint of being a produce cheat on him, how far do we really think he's going to be able to get? Seriously. Look at Dongpyo. Dongpyo is kind of reviled by the Korean public. Like, his appearances on Variety, people have been saying, like, he's extremely rude, he doesn't know his place, he has no manners. It's been pretty negative feedback for him. So you've got a public that already kind of doesn't like you because they see you as cocky. And now they're saying that the companies cheated to get you into the final lineup. Who's going to want him? Who's going to want to put money behind him as an idol? Who's going to want to put money behind him and think that they're going to get money back from the public? Like, this is how ruinous this whole situation is.
Am I dramatic?
And then you have the members of One. And we haven't seen the fallout with them just yet. But have you noticed over the last couple of months since all the produce stuff came out, we haven't seen any comebacks from anybody from 101 except for Kang Danielle. Everybody else has been really quiet. And I think they're quiet because they're waiting to see who's going to be exposed as that one who had room made for them to make it into the group under false pretenses. They all want to avoid answering the questions about the produce scandal. They all want to avoid having their stardom and celebrity called into question. And a lot of people, when 101, let me go back a little bit. A lot of people during the second season of Produce, when it was announced that members of New East were going to be on the show, were very skeptical because they were like, it makes it seem like New East was a flop, and are they going to be able to recover as a group if one of them doesn't make it in the show? It's showing a lot of vulnerability for them. But at the end of the day, it did turn out to be something really positive for them. And I think that it definitely breathed new life into New East as a group. And it gave them a definite direction for their music, and for that I'm grateful. But for the other people in 101 who didn't come from some of the groups, who decided to go solo, have you noticed that they keep going down and down and down with every successive comeback? Have you guys noticed that? Have you noticed that the IOI girls, after IOI broke up, the groups they went back to haven't seen huge success, and their comebacks sell less and less and less? Really, the only, in my opinion, this is my not so humble opinion, the only winner of the IOI season is Chungha. She literally, to me, is the only one who won on season 1 of Produce. People could say it was Somi, and You know, I heard birthday a lot, but at the end of the day, the real winner was Chungha. And she wasn't even the one that people thought would be the winner. Like, Chungha played the underdog so long in the first season. But out of it all, she has something inside of her that told her, I'm going to work myself like a fucking dog, and I'm going to make this work for me. But yeah, for the other girls, that people like the project group. People don't give a fuck about where you came from. And it has done nothing for Wiki Mickey and Gugudan and Preston and Cosmic Girls. It's done nothing for these groups. Dia, it's done nothing for you. It really has done nothing for you. A small blip in attention, and then it's right back down to whatever. So, yeah, for people to be like, oh, the IOI thing was a huge boost. No. Being on Produce in China is a huge boost because the Chinese fans have been buying up Cosmic Girls like hotcakes. But Korea's Produce system does nothing for these people once they are out of the project group. Nothing at all. Absolutely nada. So, speaking of Produce, where do we go from here? What do we do now? How do we make things right? Should Produce not ever come back? And if it comes back, how do we do it and have the public believe that their votes are actually going to count, that we're actually going to listen to them, that it's not going to be rigged again? I have a few opinions about that. I'd like to share them with you. Please listen. So, I do think that Produce should come back. I absolutely do. I think that Produce should come back, but I think that you have to change Produce. You have to change Produce big time. And I think the way that you change Produce is in the following ways. Number one, I think that Mnet as a company should make a big deal about hiring an outside accounting firm to be the ones to administer the voting process for that season of Produce. I don't know how it is in Korea, but I can tell you in America, we've always had accounting firms monitoring the voting for our award shows. So like the Grammys has an accounting firm that monitors the ballots for the Grammy and the votes for the Grammy. The Academy Awards is the same way. And then the accounting firm is the one who delivers the results to the show. And then the results from the vote are read out in the show in the little card prompter thing. In fact, it was I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago when one of the award shows, they announced that Best Picture was La La Land, but it was actually Moonlight.
And it was straight up on that card, too. Vox tried to make it seem like it was because of the bad typography. No, it wasn't. They just wanted to give the award to La La Land. Y'all know y'all should have seen Moonlight. Moonlight was the first thing that grabs your attention on that card. They had no right to say La La Land. Nothing even mentioned La La Land on that card. Y'all know y'all was wrong for that. That was shady. That was shady.
All right, go off then. But anyway, PricewaterhouseCoopers, that is the accounting firm that does the Academy Awards. And they gave the wrong card. That was the problem. They have multiple cards, and the person who works at the accounting firm is supposed to read the results at the time that the award is about to be given out, pull the right card, give it to the presenter. That's how it's supposed to happen. But they messed up on that. But long story short, the Academy Awards themselves don't take the blame when the wrong result is set on the show or the wrong envelope is given to the presenter, because they don't actually tally the votes. They pay for an outside accounting firm to tally the votes. So if Produce is going to continue to be a show, what they need to do is they need to hire an outside accounting firm, and that outside accounting firm needs to be the one that is monitoring the votes, that is administering the telephone lines. They need to have the telephone company be the ones that are like, we're the ones who are calculating everything. The dedicated lines are this, that, the other. We've tallied the votes. We know all the things. That like that. That's how that needs to be. So that's one thing that needs to change if you're going to do Produce again. The next thing that needs to happen, they need to do a Produce redemption season. So they need to allow contestants from seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 who did not make it into the top to allow them the opportunity to go on Produce again. And if you go on Produce,
I don't like Snape either.
Hey, sorry. Go on Produce again. And when they go on Produce again, they're allowed to, well, if they decide that they want to contribute to another season of it, they go on Produce again. And what they do is that they give everybody equal run time for the first 2 weeks of the show. So instead of being like, this performance was the best, this performance was the worst, instead, just let everybody kind of do an introduction. Like, hi, my name is Hyojin, and I was on season 2 of Produce, and I've come back because I still want to live out my idol dream. Please support me. It would take a while to do this. That's why I said the first 2 weeks. It would take a while to do this. Even if, because there's 100 contestants. So even if everybody got 1 minute, that's 100 minutes. So it would be tough. But I think you could do like just a little bitty introduction piece on television. You could put it at like not primetime hours, but make it to where it's something that's available for the entire public to see. Do not start the vote yet, though. Do 2 weeks of just getting to know contestants, just seeing performances, but not allowing people to vote yet. And do that so that every contestant can say, I had airtime. Because that's the thing, too. A lot of people are like, the way that they manipulate the vote, if they're not actually manipulating the phone line, is that they make it to where they're manipulating who gets screen time so you know who is who. You know, there are people who are stands of companies, and they knew about contestants before the first episode aired because they went on the YouTube, they watched their videos because they knew these were the trainees from this company, and they stand for them already without any proof of any talent. But there are people who were independent trainees, like Choi Soo-hwan, my favorite, my baby, I love him, Tuzi, who was an independent trainee. He didn't have a company. And I think it would be fair for him to be able to come out and just be like, hi, my name is Choi Soo-hwan, and I'm coming back to the show because I believe that I have what it takes to make it, and I'd like to prove to Korea that I can do it. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be amazing. So that's something that I would really like to see happen in a future season, is just like give everybody at least a minute to introduce themselves, and then people can kind of decide, who do I want to get to know better? And then make it to where after you've done the introduction, people can go to the YouTube channel to find out more about the trainee, especially for the ones that decided to come back. They can do like a little 4 or 5 minute thing that says, you know, this is your journey back to Produce, and it shows like maybe them from the first season they were in Produce, maybe their most memorable segment from the show, and then their introduction, like, I'm back and this time I want to be your selection, whatever else you need to do. That way it's like, I see your face, I can go on YouTube to learn more about your history with the show, and then I can determine my emotional attachment to you. Next thing you need to do, when they do these group challenges where people are put into groups and they're assigned parts and all that stuff, make it random draw. Make it random draw. So this is what I would do. I would do like, okay, we're going to have 3 buckets here. There's a dance bucket, a vocal bucket, and a rap bucket. All the trainees will be divided based on the bucket. And then I'm going to have inside your bucket, I'm going to have numbers 1 through 15. Draw a number. Okay, if you have the number 15, you're in group number 15, get together and start working on your routine. I think that works out too, because part of the manipulation that people said happened in the season is that people were given song selections early, they were given choreography early, and that's the reason why certain people fought for certain positions in groups, because they were already taught that position before they started filming the show segments. And so a lot of people had an advantage because they had already learned the rap, or they had already learned to sing the verse, or they had already learned to do whatever. So this whole thing about like, let's all raise hands to see who's going to do what position, a lot of that was cheating because they already knew what position they were going to have. So that's the reason why I think it'd be nice if you do a random draw, because then people can't say, well, you knew the choreography ahead of time because you chose that song. No, you didn't know the choreography ahead of time because it was a random draw. So this song requires 2 rappers, 3 vocalists, and 2 main dancers. So if everyone has a number 7, this is your song. That way it puts it in an even playing field for everyone involved in that group. And I think also they need to make it to where each group gets the same amount of time, and each person in the group gets the same amount of airtime during the show. That way you can't say, well, they edited me out so no one even knew I was there, because they do that a lot. There's a lot of people that you don't even realize that they're a part of these groups because they get 5 seconds during the prep for their group. So if you make it to where people mandatory get the same amount of time, you can find a way to make that happen, whether it's just edit of their face or their feet or whatever else, but work very hard to make sure everybody gets the same amount of camera time. And I think if you do all the things that I've just mentioned, I think you could make the show really good. I really do think you can make the show really good. I think you can make it something that people are going to enjoy. I think there's a way to run an honest show and still have the public supported. The problem is that a lot of people in these kind of industries are scared of the public, to be honest with you. A lot of them are scared of the public because they're so dependent on the public, and they put so much money behind getting the public's favor that they kind of want to rig the ballot because they hope it'll help them hedge their bet on losing money. I think Produce was a great concept. I thought it was like American Idol on steroids. But when you try so hard to manipulate it, people see through that falsehood. So if you make it to where there is a little bit of indecision, there is a little bit of, I don't know what's going to happen, I think you can make a really decent show. I know that I've heard that Produce Japan is having the issue where the public thinks that the show is boring because the rankings don't change very much from week to week. I get that. I totally get that. But at least the public in Japan knows that whatever group ends up being made at the end of that season, that group is the group you chose. You got your money's worth. You were given what you asked for. There was no scamming here. Whereas in Korea, scam fucking city. And they need to quit it. They need to stop. Oh, last thing I would do for a new season of Produce if I was starting it over, allow international voting. Allow international voting. I don't know how you would allow it to keep people from like bot voting, because that would be a very real thing. I think you would start with making sure that they have an M-Wave account, because the standard for having an M-Wave account is pretty steep. But make it to where people have to have an M-Wave account so that these bots would have to make multiple M-Wave accounts in order to start to cheat. But you can vote through your M-Wave account. If you did that, I think you would also have a much better group. And as Alex, my friend, said, how are you going to call it a global group if the globe didn't vote for it? So I think that would be a way to really make another very positive change. But these are my suggestions for doing a new season of Produce and making it something that people can endorse, people can get behind it, people would want to watch. But that's my opinion. You know, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to talk about. I do have one more thing I need to talk about. Let me pull it up real quick because I gotta look it up first because I don't remember how to pronounce it. I think I spelled that wrong. I sure did. Fuck. Don't you hate it when you're trying to spell a Korean word but you're not exactly sure how to spell it? That happens to me all the time. And it's very difficult because I know kind of how to say it in my mind, but I always want to look at it because I say things so wrong so often. So I'm trying to find it here. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I spelled it wrong, but I knew how to pronounce it. Okay, so let's talk about sajegi. So for those of you who don't know, sajegi is the practice of manipulating the charts through illegal streaming or through buying excessive copies of an album by a company instead of letting the public buy the albums. So this is not a new concept when it comes to K-pop. K-pop has had sajegi accusations for years. I remember way back in the day, I was not into B1A4. For a minute there, I was about to call them something completely different. I was trying to say B1A4 and I was about to say Balasa at the same time. So it was going to be like B1 Sasa. My mind was going crazy places. Anyway, B1A4. I remember B1A4 had an album that came out that did really, really well. And it was during a time when B1A4 was only a few steps up from being a rookie group, but the album sold like hotcakes. And the Korean public was like, there's no fucking way this album is that popular. It's got to be Sajegi. And it really hurt B1A4 for a long time in terms of like people believing in their popularity. I don't know that that was ever proven that they actually did that. I think it was just kind of suggested, but just to be sure, I'm going to look it up online just to see if perhaps my memory is wrong. So Sajegi B1A4. Sorry, I'm just looking at this up right here. Okay, so I'm looking at this website that shows a list of groups that have been accused of Sajegi. So Laboom has been accused of it. Teen Top has been accused. Sistar has been accused, which is crazy because Sistar doesn't need that. Just saying, they don't need it. BTS has been accused of it. IOI has been accused of it. B1A4. The album was Who Am I? That was the one. And then Block B has been accused of it. And even Girls' Generation has been accused of Sajegi before, which is crazy to me. What would they need to do that for? That's ridiculous. But anyway, it's something that a lot of K-pop groups have been accused of. And most of the time back in the old days, it was physical sales. So a lot of the accusation was you guys are buying excessive copies of your album and you're putting them in a warehouse and then reselling them in order to make it seem like your artist is so very popular so they can win music shows and get press attention when really people aren't interested in their music. That was the main accusation. Now it's not physical. And that's just because of the world we live in. Like a lot of artists who are from smaller companies don't spend the money on physical albums because they don't want to be left with dead stock. So a lot of them, they release their music digitally and they release it a song at a time. So you have a lot of groups that are like, okay, this is my latest single, listen to it, but all I'm releasing is the single and the instrumental. I'm not releasing an album full of songs. And there have been several artists that have been releasing singles that have been ballads that have been doing extremely well on the digital charts. The issue is, though, the times that they're doing well on the charts are at really weird hours. So people have always accused K-pop fans of Sajegi because they say that the international fans stream on Korean digital platforms in the middle of the night when everybody else is asleep because that's when they're awake. But now they're noticing that like around midnight, which is I guess not usually a time the international fans stream, a lot of these ballad singers have been seeing huge digital streaming numbers. And a lot of people are saying, okay, you have huge digital streaming. The audience that they say is streaming your music is around the age of like 35 to 50. And usually people that are 35 to 50 have work, and so they're not even up at midnight a lot of the time. So what the fuck is going on? So Park Young from Block B, which is ironic considering that he was on that list of artists that have been accused of Sajegi in the past. Park Young from Block B got drunk one night, went on social medias and said, you know, tired of these fucking scammer ass songs being on the charts when you know y'all are paying for your streams, fuck you. And of course, he called out people by name because he's a member of Block B, and Block B has always been mad reckless. So he's calling out people by name, and the artists he's calling out have decided they are going to sue him for defamation because he can't prove shit. Not necessarily that he's wrong, but he can't prove shit. And Park Young, of course, he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, I was drunk. But at the same time, since you want to play that game, bitch, sue me and turn over your records to me so I can prove either that I was lying or that you are a whore and you're lying yourself. And so it's been a talk of the industry for a long time. I know it's been a talk of the industry because last summer, when Jade was here, there was an artist that was on the digital charts all over the place. And we listened to the song and we're like, this song isn't even that good. What the fuck? And then the artist, I cannot remember his name now, but I guess he was like, oh, I'm doing so great on the charts. He was like winning music shows. That's how big the song was. But then they tried to do a concert and couldn't even sell like 200 tickets or something crazy like that. And so that was when it started to become more and more in the public's face that there's some cheating here. There's something wrong here. Especially when you go to like the music video and there's not a lot of views on the music video. And people aren't interested in seeing them in concert and they're not getting CF promotion. Like all the things that come with big chart success weren't following these digital artists. So now you have a few people that are being mentioned. There's Noel who's being mentioned, and there's Vibe being mentioned, and there's somebody else whose name I cannot recall. But they're being mentioned, and they're saying, fuck you, we've always been popular, you're just mad because nobody wants to listen to your music. And at first it seemed like Park Hyung had really fucked up his life behind having to pay attorneys to defend himself. But apparently he has a lot of allies in the industry, and a lot of people are sick and tired of it because songwriters have come out in support. Jin from BTS came out in support of Park Hyung. Well, he didn't say his name, but he's basically like, you know, we're honest artists doing honest music, and I wish we could get back to that. Dig. Because people aren't trying to get sued. They're looking at him like, listen, I'll support you, but I'm not about to name no names because I'm not trying to get sued myself, guy. But people basically are tired of it. Hayes, I always say her name wrong. Hayes. She's like, you know, we need to get back to being true artists, stuff like that. Like, people are tired. People are tired of someone you've never heard of with wild streaming numbers during a time that nobody is awake and that nobody wants to see in concert, all of a sudden claiming, I am Korea's favorite artist. And don't get me wrong, Korea still has a problem with idols charting super heavy at 3 a.m. because of international fans. But at minimum, those international fans are also buying physical albums. At minimum, those international fans are also paying for concert tickets. So there is an actual measure of popularity related to these in the middle of the night streams for idol acts. There is no other metric for popularity that matches up for these ballad singers. And that's the reason why people are so hateful about it and people are so angry about it, because it would be different if people thought you had this super dedicated fan group that decided that they want to stream you all night long. But it's not even that. Also, none of these people ever appear on music shows either. Like the last summer when it was that one guy who, again, I can't remember his name, but he was winning music shows, but not appearing on music shows to sing the music that supposedly everybody super duper loved. So it's like, are you really as popular as you say you are? Hell, are you even the person singing this fucking song? Because there's no evidence that anyone knows you or cares about you. You know, like, I would love to see a man on the street interview 100 people just to see, like, can you sing the chorus of the #1 song at 2 a.m. in the morning? You can't. They can't. People don't really know this music. So I wish the best of luck to Park Hyung because I've always liked him. I have his solo album, I think it's called Notebook, and I need to buy his single. I haven't bought it yet, but I need to buy it. It's Christmas time, so I'm kind of on a spending hiatus for the most part. But yeah, I wish him the very best because I really feel like it is a problem. And as much as fans of idols stream in big numbers, we also buy in big numbers. So there is support there. But these people, it's just literally to fuck with folks. Honestly, that's what it feels like. It feels like they're just trying to fuck with people at this point. So yeah, I would like to see some action take place here. I hope that he wins his lawsuit. And if he doesn't win his lawsuit, please do a GoFundMe. I'll slide you a few bucks for your defense. But yeah, that's been big news on the K-pop front. The last thing I'm going to mention tonight, because I feel the need to mention it just since it would be disrespectful not to. The actor Cha In-ah passed away recently. It has not come out confirmed or otherwise that it was suicide. It was just that he passed away at a very young age. He was a member of a K-pop group called Surprise You, but Surprise You is a Fantagio group, which means that they weren't really a group so much as a collection of actors who are in a music group. Because Surprise You is an offshoot of Surprise, which is another Fantagio group that basically was a group in order for them to do a television show. So I'm not laughing at the deceased person. I'm laughing at the idea that any musical group coming out of Fantagio that includes actors is an actual group, because it's not. It's just an excuse to expose pretty boys to the public, honestly. But he was in a currently running show, and he had been having kind of minor acting parts here and there. And it's extremely unfortunate whenever a young person dies, no matter what the cause is. It's always unfortunate when a young person dies because they have so much in front of them to experience. There's so much life for them to live. And whenever a young person is cut short in the midst of that, you feel like so much was lost for the world. So I really feel terrible that this is happening to his family and to the people who love him and his friends and his fans. But I want to be very clear about something too. The press has been making it seem like K-pop stars are dropping like dead flies. And I say it in a trashy way because they treat it in a trashy way. Cha In-ah was not a K-pop star, but the articles in the West about his death have all been K-pop star Cha In-ah. And it's just, obviously these are people who know nothing about him, nothing at all. They just want to, again, fit a narrative. And it is extremely insulting. Now, I'm not going to lie. When I talked about Guhara dying, I did mention Sully, because Guhara and Sully were friends. I didn't mention Sully because it's just like, oh, look, all these K-pop suicides. No, it was two friends who went through a lot together, died within weeks of each other. This is a tragedy. And it is. You know, I didn't mention a lot about all of the controversies that Guhara has had, and I really didn't spend a lot of time mentioning specific controversies that Sully had. But Guhara and Sully had a controversy together, which was the Johnson's baby lotion photograph controversy, the Lolita controversy. And both of them took a lot of heat for it. And if you Google Guhara's name right now, there are tons of articles about all of the shitty things that the public has said about her over the years. Like, the fact that she made it as long as she did with the vast amount of hates that people sent her, she was a fucking saint, because a lot of stronger people couldn't have done it. But what happens is when you have Sully passing away, then you have Guhara in a matter of weeks. And then you have this guy who is tangentially a K-pop artist. All of a sudden, it gives Western media the running dialogue of, look at K-pop, it's killing its young, it's the most brutal business in the world, they're dropping like flies. And it's infuriating because it's a way for people in the West to dehumanize artists in K-pop. It is a way for them to, again, make it seem other and different and foreign. When American artists commit suicide quite frequently, they die young frequently. They die of overdoses. They die from car accidents. They die from suicide. They die from all kinds of things. Sometimes it's just bad health. But it happens in America quite frequently. And we don't look at our artists and think, there's a real problem with the American entertainment system. We don't do that. But it's okay to cast that narrative to the Korean entertainment industry because it is foreign and it is other. And if it was as good as Western media, they wouldn't have these problems. As if Western media doesn't have these problems. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about it today because we will be looking at the second anniversary of Jongyun's death in a couple of weeks. And I don't want to talk about it then. I don't want to disrespect his memory by talking about it then. Because more than anyone else that I've mentioned tonight, his name is the name that gets dragged through the mud when people talk about the ills of the K-pop factory music system. And I'm sick of it. I'm fucking sick and tired of it. Jongyun was so much more than even K-pop. Honestly, he was somebody's son. He was a very talented songwriter. He was a very talented vocalist. He was a multi-instrumentalist. He was a valuable member of SHINee. He was a cherished colleague at SM. He was someone's son. He was someone's brother. He was people's cousin. He was people's friends. He was someone's lover. And there are thousands of people who go to bed at night missing him dearly. And to make him the poster boy for the tragedy of K-pop is ridiculous. It is obscene. It is disrespectful. It is every shitty thing that Western media proves itself to be over and over and over again, to the point that people use his story without even bothering to find out his fucking name. When the
get his picture right.
When the Hollywood Reporter did their article about BTS, their shitty, crappy, unresearched, hastily put together article about BTS, where their reporter didn't even look at anything about BTS until he was on the fucking flight to Korea and bought them presents from the gift shop, the airport gift shop. They didn't even mention his name. They didn't even think about how utterly heartbreaking it is for the people who love him, for him to be looked at as a statistic. I wouldn't do that to him. I wouldn't do it to Sully. I wouldn't do it to Guhara. And I wouldn't do it to China. I wouldn't do it to anybody because they are alive. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have anybody do that to my child. And my child wouldn't want that done to me. So I want to talk about it because the frustration keeps building and building and building. But the fact that reporters are reaching so fucking far with this China thing to be like, a K-pop star once again succumbs to the... Fuck you. Fuck you. For real and for serial, fuck you. This is someone's child. This is someone's child. Not a statistic. Not another name. Not a box ticked. This is someone's child. Someone loved this man very, very much. And someone is crying right now. And is not able to get over it because it hurts so bad. And if you've ever had someone in your family commit suicide, or someone in your family die an early, unexpected death, there's nothing in the world like it. Nothing in the world feels like it. It is the worst feeling ever. And I cannot imagine how I would feel if someone did an article listing my loved one as another example of the ills of society without even saying their fucking name, getting their picture right, or even properly identifying their profession. It is a mark of low class and bad manners, for sure. But I hope that this young man's spirit rests well. I pray that his family will find comfort and relief, and that they'll be able to get their hands on several of his performances on DVD so that they can look back at his performances and see little pieces of him in those performances and let him live on. We're so lucky that we still have variety and concerts and music videos for Jongyun, so he's still present with us. We're so lucky that we have FX videos and we have Sully's own music right before she passed, giving her own insights to her life. We're so lucky for almost a decade of Kara and Guhada's memory living out there. Tangible pieces that some of us will never have of the loved ones we lost, but a chance to see them when they were their brightest, when they were shining the most, when they were the most beautiful, and they were the youngest, and they were the happiest. I'm so glad we still have these mementos, but I think it is extremely unethical for the way that Western journalists tarnish it and use it as fodder for their entertainment. It's ridiculous. So I wanted to make sure I ended tonight's chat about that. I might address it again later on, but I don't want to address it in the next couple weeks, like I said, because Minho's birthday is coming up, and I want his birthday to be about him. Onu's birthday is coming up. I want Onu's birthday to be about him. And I want Jonghyun's birthday, well, not birthday, I want his passing day to be a day of reflection on who he was and how much we still miss him and how much the world is dim without him, because it really is. It's been 2 years, and I still miss him. It's been 2 years, and I see pictures of him, and it feels like it was yesterday. It's been 2 years, and I still look for his voice. It's been 2 years, and it still brings tears to my eyes. So I'm not going to dirty the time that I could be reflecting on him with the nastiness of the Western media. I'm going to spend that time honoring him, and I'm going to watch his videos, and I'm going to watch old episodes of Hello Baby, and I'm going to watch Variety, and I might even break out some of my tour DVDs, who knows, but I'm going to smile with Jonghyun. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to smile with him because that's what he deserves, because of everything he gave to us. He was an amazing performer, and I hope that next year, when fans of Sully are remembering her, that they're able to put in Electric Shock, or they're able to put in Red Light, or they're able to put in any other product that they have for FX, or any of her solo stuff, or look at her old dramas and remember her in the way that she wanted the world to remember her. And I hope that next year, when people are remembering Guhada, they remember Kara, and they remember the Mr. dance, and they remember Mamma Mia, and they remember everything else that she did, because that's what these people deserve. They deserve to be remembered at their best, not to be remembered at their worst, at the lowest moment in their life. They don't deserve to be remembered for that moment. Debbie Downer, I'm down. But I'm up, but I'm down. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And, oh, shoot. I almost forgot to mention it. Side note, I hate to end the video like this, but I have to mention it now. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. So, for those of you who don't know, I have a second channel called Shawol360 Chats. It says SHAWOL 360 CHATS, Shawol360 Chats. And I did a video on there recently talking about why I don't think I'll be doing K-Pop Secret Santa anymore. It is highly disliked, so I encourage you to leave a dislike for me. But also, I'm bringing up that channel because I'm thinking about doing a new series with my daughter. I haven't talked to her about it, so that's why I can't say it's going to happen, but I'm thinking about it. I own a lot of K-pop, like a lot of K-pop.
Yes, she does.
And my daughter has heard most of my K-pop, but not all of my K-pop.
No.
And since Shawol360 Chats is the channel that has the fewest amount of followers and has the fewest amounts of videos that I currently manage, I've been debating on doing called Listen to My Music. And basically the series would be, I would play a K-pop CD with Stephanie. She would do a live reaction. We would probably do it as a live stream, and people can kind of chime in. And then at the end of listening to the CD, Stephanie would give her opinion on how she feels about the CD. And this would coincide with me doing a number of things. I've been really seriously thinking about paring down my K-pop collection. I got a lot of stuff. I don't have a lot of room. So I've been thinking about getting rid of some stuff. And maybe having a second opinion, having a little bit of community involvement will help me to pare down my collection. You know, kind of like Marie Kondo, you know, does this item give you joy? So I have been contemplating doing that on my other channel. So if you're not subscribed to Charlotte 360 Chats, I encourage you to subscribe, just because when it happens, I probably will talk about it on this channel a bit, but I probably won't talk about it too much, just because that has me putting videos on both channels and I don't really want to do that. I kind of want to save it for the Chats channel, but I'm thinking about doing that. I don't plan on doing it a whole bunch. Like, it'll be seasons for sure, because I have probably 300 or 400 CDs, something like that. So
That's a lot of CDs.
that's a lot. It definitely goes to her dad in the summer, so it's not going to be like all the time, but it's a series that I think would be great for us to do together. One, because K-pop is one of the things that we've shared since she was really little, and also it's something where she took a hiatus kind of in the middle of me being obsessed with K-pop. So it'll be nice to go back and play some things for her that she really hasn't heard, because she wasn't really into K-pop at that time, and kind of seeing, you know, if maybe she discovers some faves, or it encourages her to want to listen to some stuff. So we'll see. But yeah, the channel, like I said, it's Shawol 360 Chat. So it's SHAWOL, the number 3, the number 6, the number 0, and then the word CHATS. Shawol 360 Chats. That is my secondary channel. There's mostly K-drama reviews on that channel, so if you're interested, you could check those out. I'm also thinking about doing some reviews for some of these Thai and Taiwanese boys love series I'm watching, so I might leave some like cumulative reviews there, like, you know, after the series is over, final thought type things there. But I definitely want to get more active with 360 Chats, because it was my favorite channel of mine for a really long time, and then I started doing live streams on this channel, and because live streams are so easy to make, I just really devoted more time here. But I would like to get back to posting some more stuff on 360 Chats, because that channel is not as much identified as a K-pop channel as this one is, and so it'll be easier definitely to satisfy those that are interested on that channel, because it is a channel more for those people who are interested in the talk rather than the collection. Get what I'm saying? Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. Thank you for hanging in there during the weird trolley transgender segment. It was weird. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye! You're such a mess.